guys, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for being here and I really appreciate your time. I'm just going to be doing a quick video where I share my reaction to what Dr. Umar said on the podcast. I know I'm a couple weeks old or a couple weeks late. This video clip came out a couple weeks ago, but I just wanted to give my quick opinion on the matter. I really do appreciate Dr. Umar for really standing on what he believes in, first of all, and not caving to the pressure. A lot of times I felt like men, especially in the manosphere space or the podcast manosphere space, feel the need to say certain things in order to keep the viewership coming in. We understand that we do not live in a climate where everyone wants to actually hear the truth, things that will actually cause them to have progress and to move forward and to do better. People want to hear that exactly where they are without doing anything, without changing anything. They're perfect the way they are. So a lot of times you will have podcast content creators who are absolutely tuned into this, and they understand that they have to be careful about what they say, about which perspective that they take, because they have to kind of regurgitate the same talking points that a lot of these manosphere supporters want to hear, which is that they aren't the problem, it's the women. There's nothing they can do, but they should still be treated as kings. They should still be treated as men, even though they don't want to, particularly do anything that would be a requirement of a man or a requirement of a leader. I'm going to quickly play the clip of Dr. Umar responding to this podcast gentleman. I don't know his name, but he's basically saying in the podcast, like, to sum it up, I feel that a lot of women make bad dating choices and that's why they have what they have. And Dr. Umar responds with this.
So, obviously, a big thing, obviously, we spoke about the gender wars, earlier. Obviously, there's a lot of conversation nowadays about, the value of what a woman brings and the value of what a man brings in a relationship. And now there's a lot more rhetoric from our women that we hear is, I'm strong, independent, I don't need no man, right? So,
that's pain speaking, though.
Right.
Because most black women know they will never get a man. A black woman can have sex whenever she wants.
Right.
Because she's beautiful. She can have a bed mate, but to have a soul mate, she may never get. I have two daughters, 11 and 20, right? My oldest will be 21 this week. Statistically, right? There's a strong chance my daughter could be one of those. I hope she's not. She could be one of those who never get a husband because only 1 out of 4 gets a husband. You see that? So when a black woman says, I don't need a man, that is a reaction to the reality that I may not get a man.
So why not preach? Because I understood, you're obviously against interracial relations when it comes to black men with with white women.
With all women. You should only be with the black woman.
And you will say, well, if you can't find a good woman in America, there's
somewhere else.
In
Absolutely.
Africa. So why not teach that same rhetoric to our women? Like if you feel
I tell sisters all the time, go to Africa.
So
I know sisters who marry. I just spoke with a sister. She invited me to the wedding. She just married a brother from the continent.
So, but instead of saying they will never get married,
I'll take sisters to Africa who married brothers they met in Africa.
Right.
So yeah,
I think there's obviously plenty of black men and black women. So
and what I also tell black women, if you're going to go get you an African man from the continent,
right,
you're going to have to understand that the way in which you talk to black men in America will not be tolerated over there.
Why the fuck is it tolerated? It's not tolerated here. That's what we're trying to tell them.
Well, over here, I want to say this to us, though. Because we try to act like the way sisters treat us doesn't have a history that we are not at least partly responsible for. Let's be honest. The black woman has had to hold down the black house by herself, although imperfectly. She's had to do it by herself since the mass incarceration of black males began in the 1970s. You understand me? Most of our children are raised by a single mother right now. And it has been that way for about 50 years. So when a sister says, I don't need a man, because she couldn't find one strong enough to hold her down. Or when you meet a woman and you say, sister, I'm strong enough to be your man. You ain't got to work or you ain't got to pay the bills or whatever. Pull back. I got you. And she can't do it because all the other men before you who disappointed her. So what I'm saying is, black men, we got to be patient with our women because we created that personality. We created that, and then we want to act like we didn't play a role.
We have to be held accountable for their poor selection.
No, you have to be held accountable. No, you have to be held accountable because they have a poor selection. See, what you're saying, you're selecting a poor mate. And what I'm saying is they don't have much to select one, so of course she's going to end up with a poor mate. And why is she going to end up with a poor mate? Because we as black men are not raising black boys to be the men that our women need. We are not. They out there killing themselves right now. What we doing about it? Unemployed black males, what we doing about it? Pants sagging, weed smoking, what we doing about it? Black men are not raising black boys to be the men our community needs. That is 100% our fault. What I'm saying is she got a right to be angry with us. She got a right to be angry with us.
I understand
we have not been on our job as black men. If the men are the providers, what have we been providing for our community? I'm not speaking you individually.
Yes.
Because you may be a damn good father. You may be a damn good father. You may be a damn good father, but guess what? What are we doing for the community? What are we doing for the children who don't have a father? You don't think the black woman got a right to be angry when she's been raising 2/3 of the kids by herself for 50 years? And the minute she raised her voice, we say she's not humble enough? She had to become masculine to survive the rape, the molestation, the domestic abuse. Are you telling me you can't see how we created that?
I understand that, but she needs to be
If we was loving
selective.
our women and taking care of our women, do you think she would be like that? That personality has a history.
If she's picking Pookie and Ray Ray instead of
You're making her a scapegoat.
No, she's picking a scapegoat.
No.
There's good
Can I ask you a
quality
question?
men that they ignore.
Why she even got it? Why is there even a Pookie in the selection?
You gotta ask her that.
No. I'm gonna tell you why there's a Pookie in the selection.
Why?
Because black men have abandoned black boys and have allowed social media, white media, athletes, and rappers to raise them. That's why she with Pookie. If we never allowed Pookie to develop, she would not have a Pookie. If we're going to be men, the first thing we got to do is take responsibility for why our women feel the way they feel.
I can hear that.
I'm not saying
that.
that they're right to disrespect, because even if a woman disrespects me, right? That still don't give me a right to disrespect her, because she's still the queen of the community. Even if she's not acting like it, I'm going to give her that respect. But when I hear brothers talk like this discourse we having now, we act like we don't understand.
No,
There's reasons for that shit.
I do understand. Women are so valuable. You get what I'm saying? Like, I think women ground men and help them, propel to the next level. I think men get further in life with a woman, right? But if I'm a hardworking man, but I'm only looked at as resources,
okay,
and then she's ready to jump on Tom, Dick, and Harry because he got flash, he's shining a little bit more, his access to money is quicker than mine. It's kind of hard to have that. Well,
no, one, I agree with you, but that's not all sisters.
No, it's not.
And if you're constantly running into that type of woman, then the problem is you, because you're attracting a certain low vibrational energy. Why
not have that same energy for women? You just again, you have
because
demand
we having a conversation as men.
Yeah,
I got plenty of interviews with all women where I check them too.
All right,
but as a man, you should not be concerned about what I say to them. No. As men, we should be concerned of what we're going to do to produce a better generation of black males for tomorrow. That's the only, that is where we should be focusing.
Women bring the choice of life, right? We understand that, right? I can't have a child unless a woman agrees.
And she can't carry one if you didn't put it in her.
I agree with that 100% too, right? But whether or not, if you want that child or not, she can still make that decision. It's only up to her.
If you don't put a seed in her, nothing else happens. And no woman can make you put a seed in her. So the original act was the responsibility of a man.
True. I mean,
all right. So did black men willingly leave the household, or was it the system that was?
It was systemic.
All right. So how, if we giving them grace for them having to do it without us, but it wasn't our fault, how are we not getting that same grace and that same respect?
I'm gonna tell you why. I'm gonna tell you why. Because black men, as the leaders of the community, now
we can't be leaders.
Here's the question we got to make.
That.
Here's the question. Because the argument y'all make, feeds into the feminist agenda.
Okay,
it's an argument that says I don't want the responsibility.
I'm a leader.
I don't want to fix shit. Right? I'm gonna fall back and let her run everything. That's what the feminists tell. They say, look at them, making excuses for why they can't be better men, making excuses for why they can't make better men. You understand? Your argument feeds the feminist narrative. That's dangerous.
That's not what we're making excuses for.
I'm saying I am the better man, but I shouldn't be held responsible because you wanted to choose a Pookie and a Ray Ray. That's not me. I work too hard in my life.
And I'm going to go back to what I said. Pookie and Ray Ray shouldn't exist. And the only reason why Puka and Ray Ray exist because we're not in the community making those boys the men they need to be. Do you see that?
And,
she don't get a Pookie if you didn't allow a Pookie.
But she got an Eli. She ain't come to Eli. She went to Pookie. And that's what we're trying to say.
She wouldn't have had a Pookie if we didn't allow one.
I worked too hard in my life.
Right. She wouldn't have had a Pookie if we didn't allow one.
But Dr. Umar,
men supposed to make raise the boys.
Right. We as men is holding other men accountable for the same thing that you're talking about right now.
What are we doing for the young brothers in the street? So
what you mean, mentoring them? Now I mean he's a great father.
Mm-hmm. I ain't talking. That's individual. That's good, but that's individualism. Yeah. What are we doing collectively as men to change the trajectory for black boys in the streets right now? Nothing.
We're being a voice.
Talking shit.
Yeah, I mean, you could take it.
It's not going to get better unless we put hands on deck. The reason the athletes and the rappers are the role models is the professional black man moved out the hood. Where the dentist at? He ain't in the black community no more.
So Dr. Umar basically says that there should not be any bad men or any Pookies or any Dusties available. And although, yes, women do pick bad partners and women do get pregnant by the wrong men, that it's still ultimately men's fault because men are supposed to be generating a certain type of mentality that would create a better collective understanding, which would create more eligible men that will become fathers and leaders and so forth and so forth. And he goes on to say that each man should take responsibility of their own influence, their own sphere of influence, and they should be working on influencing at least one or two young men to be better, to do better, to make better choices. And the podcast guy is saying like, hey, like I've done everything right. I've made sure that I've been very selective with what I want to spend my money. I've managed my money well. I've made good business choices. Basically, why is it on me to go and scoop up a woman who has children by a man or multiple men that don't do anything for them? And it's on me. It's on my plate, and I have to kind of come and clean up behind a Dusty or a Pookie. How come as a man I cannot expect more since I'm not a Dusty, I'm not a Pookie? You know what I'm saying? Again, I understand both perspectives, but what I feel like a lot of podcast men and men who are looking to hear certain talking points are not really realizing is that when you are the man and you are saying that you believe in traditional gender roles and you're saying that you feel that men should be the leaders, men should be on top, that is a natural order of things, then you can't just have confirmation bias in a sense that when things go well in the black community, you take credit for it. And when things don't go well, that has nothing to do with you, right? Like you cannot pick and choose how that goes, right? And so Dr. Umar was saying that a lot of times black women in particular are masculine, are very confrontational, argumentative. They can't be submissive because they were left in a situation where they had to carry the whole communities on their back. They had to be, mother and father and mentor and disciplinarian and nurturer. They had to wear all these hats. And as a result, many black women are stuck with this mindset where if a good man does come along, she doesn't know what to do with him or she doesn't see good men. And the guy again is saying like, that don't have nothing to do with me. That's not my fault. And I shouldn't have to bear the brunt of that. And again, it's about understanding that collectively black men have to hold black men accountable, just like black women have to hold black women accountable. When I'm in spaces with women and I hear them talking about tricking men out of food and just being really gross and pursuing things that come off as if you're trying to just use men for money and use men. And I get that. Like I understand why a woman would want to do that. But a lot of times what women end up doing is doing that to the wrong guy, or should I say the right guy, and she ruins him for the next woman. I'm always speaking up. I'm always, within my friend group, holding other black women accountable because I understand that my sphere of influence is my responsibility. We are each other's keeper. And that's basically what Umar was saying. And I feel like that's so key. I feel like that's one of the very integral parts that the black community is missing, is that so many of us are only here for ourselves. And he kind of says that in the video. He basically says like all the successful black men, they moved, they left the hood, and now they are helping build up other neighborhoods and never trickles back down. And while I completely understand why that happens, at the same time, an awareness of that is exactly why we have such an immense group of men and women who are no good to be in relationships with. I think that it really does start with one or two people deciding to make different choices. And that's all the way from how they have sex and who they have sex with, and, you know, whether or not they're going to be selective about who they even open their bodies to, men who they share their seat with, women who they open their wombs to, all the way down to how do you influence the people around you. What I think is very interesting, and this is what my husband says all of the time, like I hear him say this all the time. My husband is a business owner, and a lot of times people will say or express to him like, oh, I want to be like you. I want to be like you. I want to do what you do. I want to have what you have. And he'll say to me, you know, like, they say that, babe, they don't really mean it. Like, they don't want to get up early. They don't want to do the work. They don't want to have everything fall on them. They don't want to have to deal with the client's attitudes. They don't want to do what comes with being a boss. And I think a lot of young men don't want to do what comes with being the boss, what comes with being the leader of the Black community. And I think part of it is there isn't that many examples. And a lot of times when you are raised by a single mother who presents you with a perspective of, I'm struggling, this is what I have to do, it can become like, oh, well, since I saw my mom struggle, why should I make life better for you? Like, you ain't no better than my mom. And so it becomes this thing where you have Black men who don't really like get that a lot of what they saw is unhealthy, and they're not interested in unlearning that. But they listen to people who tell them that they need to be, you know, up here, and men are the prize, and women don't really have anything to offer but sex, and you're the top dog, and you're this, and you're that, and you're this. And they're not understanding that, sure, you can be that, but that comes with responsibilities. That comes with a mindset that causes you to operate and do certain things a certain type of way. And I don't feel like a lot of young Black men in particular are interested in that part. Like, there's gonna be men who watch my video and be like, oh, she's not wearing her hair, oh, she has too much makeup on, oh, she's showing too much skin. They're gonna just pick my appearance apart to dismantle my argument, dismantle Dr. Umar's argument, because it's much easier to disqualify me and my perspective than actually sitting there and thinking about, well, how can I be a better man? How can I influence my community in a better way? But yeah, that's really all I have to say on the matter. I think in general, we have to do a lot of work, and people have to start getting honest about who they are, what they're capable of, and what they want. And people have to stop pretending that they want to be leaders and community builders and husbands and fathers when they really don't. And they need to be honest and just sit back and let the men who want to do it and get out of the way, you know, for the future, for the children in the future, for the individuals in the future to have a better outcome in their lifetime. Like, remove yourself out the way. Don't be a stumbling block. Don't create, you know, more issues if you don't want to do the work. Remove yourself. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, that's all I have to say on the topic. Thank you so much for watching. Please make sure you are subscribed to my channel and have your notifications bell turned on. And comment below if you are feeling what I'm saying. And comment below if you're not feeling what I'm saying. Please be respectful. Please do not just call me a hairhead and all this other stuff. Like, just let's be mature adults. Okay? All right. Thank you for watching. Take care. Bye.